Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters, and debunkers. Although the definition of eye level is widely accepted across various disciplines and professions, there is still a great deal of confusion about how we can observe something at eye level. And this is being perpetuated by people who wish to cling on to their globe Earth belief and attempt to debunk or destroy the flat Earth reality that when we look across a level surface, we always see the horizon at our eye level. This is a fact of life that cannot be denied. Wherever we look, no matter how high above the Earth we are, the horizon is always at our eye level, and eye level being a horizontal line of sight that's perpendicular to plumb. So it doesn't matter whether you believe that you live on a globe Earth or a level stationary Earth. Eye level is essentially the same thing. It's always going to be and only ever will be a horizontal line of sight looking straight ahead that is perpendicular to the plumb down. And of course, what we have to keep in mind is that when we are looking at a photograph, then we have to refer to the camera as eye level. And the only way the camera can be illustrating eye level is to be pointing forwards in a horizontal line of sight perpendicular to plumb, and the eye level of the camera is going to be in the very center of that frame, that field of view. And we can see here from this particular photograph taken from an aircraft looking through a heads-up display that we do in fact have a horizon that's at eye level, and this is at a height of 38,000 feet. Now, we can only assume, we could argue that the camera itself is or is not horizontal, but we can actually assume that it is horizontal because the external horizon that we see here is in the center of the field of view. This literally tells us that we are looking straight ahead. The horizon does not drop. Now, what some people have done in order to create confusion and make a straw man argument and a false claim that the horizon drops below eye level is to refer to this horizontal line on the heads-up display as eye level. And of course, if you say that this line here is eye level, then you can say, look, the external horizon has fallen and dropped below eye level. But of course, this line here on the heads-up display is not in line with the pilot's eye level, or in this case the camera's eye level, and we're going to have a look at that in motion in a minute. But first we have to just consider a couple of other things. Here we have the bore sight, which is hardwired into the navigation system. This remains fixed on the heads-up display. It does not move because it represents the direction that the aircraft is pointing, and this is more akin to the pilot's physical eye level here. This is usually more in line with the pilot's eye level. This horizon line here on the heads-up display will move to represent the angle of pitch. So because we have this scale here, which is very fixed, you can see 5 degrees of pitch up here, 5 degrees of pitch down here, and if there's extreme pitch, then this display will change to show the increments of 10. So what we have here is this bore sight in relation to the horizontal line here, showing us a pitch of something in the region of 3 degrees, getting on towards the 5 here. So of course, if the horizon line on the heads-up display came all the way down here, it would not truly represent the angle of pitch of the aircraft compared to its horizontal. So really you have to understand that the symbology on this heads-up display cannot always conform to the external view. It is just a representation of the aircraft's pitch compared to the its horizontal level. So let's just have a look at that from this kind of external frame of reference to, for want of a better word, put it into perspective. So what we have here is an aircraft that is horizontal, We can have this green line down here representing the Earth. So the aircraft is horizontal, and for the pilot, this blue line represents eye level, a horizontal, forward-looking line of sight. And we know from experts in aviation that the horizon, as illustrated here, is always going to be on that horizontal line of sight for the pilot. And here we can see that we've got this aircraft slightly pitched up. So we have this aircraft reference axis and this pitch here, which of course is going to be represented in the heads-up display by the bore sight and the horizon line on the heads-up display. But this angle of pitch is what it is. It's going to be an angle from the horizontal. So it's only when the pilot is looking straight ahead and the aircraft is truly horizontal that the horizon will be in the center of the field of view. So let's have a look at that now, just to illustrate this. It's amazing that we've got to do this, really, but it seems to be essential because there is still so much confusion. Well, what I'm going to do here is just pitch this aircraft up by 3 degrees. There we go. All right. So now the aircraft's pitched up. So, of course, this horizontal line of sight for the pilot no longer exists. Okay, the horizon that is in the pilot's field of view will remain right here. That horizon won't move. But of course, what's happened is the pilot's line of sight is no longer eye level. And that goes for the heads-up display as well, which is fixed to the aircraft. It is all pointing up at 3 degrees now from true level. So another thing to consider here is that the physical distance between these two lines is obviously going to increase over distance. But what is represented in the heads-up display is an angle. It's ratios that are converted into a scale on the heads-up display. So of course, again, as I just pointed out, this scale cannot always fit to the much wider view that the pilot actually has. It can only ever be a display that represents what's actually happening from this point of view. Another thing just to consider is that the navigation equipment will always use the original level of the aircraft as its reference. So this blue line would represent what you could also call true level, as well as the eye level at the time the aircraft was and the pilot was horizontal. But you see, this true level will never change. Okay, you might gain height above the Earth, but this in itself tells us that there is no way that this aircraft could end up going around some kind of curved Earth and it would end up at being pitched at an angle that is different to the original horizontal. And there is just simply no way that the aviation equipment will register that, if that was the case. The way this all works is to use the original horizontal as a reference for horizontal. So this line for the aircraft's true level will always be a line that is parallel to the original departure point of the aircraft. So any aircraft that's following a straight and level flight path will always be in line with the level from the original point of departure. It cannot change. There is no way that the aircraft could ever represent this or conform to some imagined curved Earth. However, that's beside the point. We're looking at the definition of eye level here. So we can see here that we now have an aircraft that's pitched up, just as we see with this heads-up display. We've got the bore sight pitched up from horizontal. So unless we actually ensure that we are looking straight ahead, or the camera in this case is looking straight ahead, eye level is not being represented here at all, and you certainly cannot call this horizon line on the heads-up display eye level. No way, it's not in line with the pilot's eye level. And again, the whole apparatus and the aircraft is pitched up a few degrees from true level. So this cannot be eye level. It is a mistake, it is ignorant, and it is a lie to refer to that horizon line on the heads-up display as eye level. The only reason anyone would ever do that is in order to make the false claim that the horizon then drops below eye level. So what we need to do now is just have a quick look at a video that will confirm what I've just said, how the bore sight remains fixed, and we'll see where eye level is on the heads-up display compared to the pilot's eye level. And hopefully that should help things become a lot clearer for the many of you that seem to be confused and misled by this misrepresentation of what eye level actually is. So we have here a pilot's eye view through a heads-up display. And a couple of things to note as we watch this. We have the pilot's and camera's line of sight here in the center of the field of view. And we must keep in mind that eye level is only when horizontal, such as at the moment where we have a pretty much horizontal line of sight. And we can see here that this center point is in line with what should be the pilot's eye level. This ball on the right hand side is where the pilot will line up their eyes in order to get the optimal view. So this is quite a good example because it's the camera is fixed in the pilot's proper line of sight. So again, you know, at the moment we can see true eye level because the aircraft is pretty much horizontal and the pilot's line of sight is also therefore horizontal. And of course what we're going to see when we take off is a change in that. So let's pause it when the aircraft takes off to note a couple of other things. Okay, now of course the aircraft is pitched up a lot when it takes off, and we can see here that the bore sight has remained fixed pretty much at eye level. So if you're going to refer to anything on a heads-up display as eye level, then you really should refer to this bore sight as eye level. As you can see, it's pretty much in line with the eye level indicator on the cockpit there. So this is a true representation of eye level. But again, must be stressed that at the moment with the aircraft pitched up, we do not have a true representation of eye level. We only have the center of the pilot's field of view, or the camera's field of view, that is this line of sight here. Okay, so the line of sight is always going to be along this bore sight, which remains fixed. And of course we can see the horizon line here on the heads-up display has gone all the way down here, and it's now become a dashed line. This tells the pilot that this display can no longer represent a true ratio or scale of the pitch compared to true level. So this line becomes broken, just to show that, because again we're looking at a display that is said to be conformal with the pitch of the aircraft compared to its true level. So at the moment this true level and the pitch cannot be fully represented on the screen, but at least we've got the pitch indicator here showing the degrees of pitch for the aircraft, and this we can see has gone quite high. So let's just keep that in mind as we carry on. And again we can see the bore sight remains absolutely fixed. It doesn't move, but the horizon line will move. Okay, and now the horizon line has come back in line with the horizon, but we'll see that even when we get to something in the region of 1,000 feet, such as here, all right, I think we've just gone above 1,000 feet here, the horizon line on the heads-up display isn't in line with the external horizon. Does this mean that the horizon outside has dropped dramatically because we're on a ball? No, it's because we're still at a high degree of pitch. And again, the scale of this these symbols on the heads-up display must be conformal with the angle that is now represented with the distance between the bore sight and the line on the heads-up display. So, if this line on the heads-up display moved any further, then it would not be a true representation of the pitch compared to true level. So, again, it just has to be this way to represent the pitch of the aircraft compared to true level. It doesn't mean that the horizon has dropped anywhere from the original level. So as we go through this, we'll see that we get something that's more akin to level and horizontal. The aircraft will eventually level out at some point, and we'll see then that when the bore sight and the line on the heads-up display line up, then this shows us that the aircraft is horizontal, and therefore we then have a true representation of eye level only when the aircraft and the pilot's line of sight are truly level. And when we get to that point, then we'll see that the external horizon is also at eye level. So in this case, when everything is horizontal, it all lines up. The horizontal line of sight for the camera or the pilot, the line on the heads-up display, the bore sight and the external horizon all line up to show us that the aircraft and the pilot is now looking straight ahead and everything is at eye level. So this is eye level. That's where it is. And it's only when the aircraft is horizontal, and it's only when the pilot is looking in a horizontal line of sight that's perpendicular to plumb. So it should be very clear now that to refer to this moving horizontal line on the heads-up display as eye level is patently wrong. It's misleading, and it's quite frankly a lie created to manufacture a straw man argument and make this claim that the horizon drops below eye level. All right. You don't have to be a pilot to understand this. You don't have to be any kind of professional. You just have to be able to use common sense and see things from a variety of perspectives other than your own. Thank you very much. Click subscribe and the bell icon if you'd like to receive notifications of new videos from Phuket Word.